Welcome to The Wrap, your weekly update of empowering and easy to understand news brought to you by Verashni Pillay and the explain.co.za team.
Happy Heritage Day! As a gift from the Explain team to you, we've compiled a playlist of our favorite recent tunes by the hottest South African artists for you to enjoy over a braai with family and friends this long weekend. Check out the link in the caption below this and enjoy. Then onto the serious stuff. From explaining the Karpowership deal to addressing the double standards in coverage of the Dickason Killings, let's dive into your weekly update of empowering and easy to understand news brought to you by me and the Explain.co.za team.
Our take.
So one of the biggest stories this week is the murder of 3 young children by their mother. Lauren Dickason, her husband and 3 children, twins aged 2 and their sister just 6, recently moved to Timaru, New Zealand from South Africa. Now Lauren is a general practitioner and her husband Graham, an orthopedic surgeon who had landed a job in New Zealand, and the 5 arrived in New Zealand about a month ago. But last Thursday night, according to media reports, Graham, the father, came home to find that his wife had strangled and killed their children, allegedly using cable ties. Now, Lauren Dickason has already appeared in court once. She will remain in custody at a forensic mental health unit until October 5th, when she's due back in court. Now, media coverage of the crime has thrown double standards in reporting into sharp relief, in our opinion. For instance, Canadian broadcaster CTV News tweeted a photo of the family's South African nanny, a black woman, under the headline, "Mother charged with murdering her 3 daughters." In South Africa, much of the coverage has leaned heavily towards finding excuses for Lauren Dickason's actions. Many outlets are referring to what is in law a crime as, quote, the tragedy. One outlet quoted a source saying that Lauren was, quote, the nicest person it could happen to, as if she were the victim. Now, Dickason was previously on chronic medication, but stopped it ahead of the family's move, apparently out of fear that it could be used against her visa process. It is not yet known what she was treating, but commentators latched onto mental health, hinting she may have come under stress due to the move and the strict quarantine measures New Zealand imposes on new travellers. Now consider the tale of another killer woman, Rosemary Ndlovu. The former cop, a black woman, is in the dock in South Africa for ordering multiple hits on family members to cash in on their life policies. But there have been no think pieces on what led to her actions or attempts to excuse or understand what she did. And previous instances of filicide, which is the term for moms killing their kids, which involve black families, have not received nearly the same volume of coverage nor garner the same attempts to explain away the crimes. A similar debate about media coverage and double standards is raging in the US at the moment over a missing persons case there. Now, we're not suggesting that any one life matters more than another. What is crucial, though, is that the media does not engage in the sort of double standards that makes one killer a helpless victim and the other a vicious villain. Karpowership. No, it's not an anime series about ninjas on ships, though that would have been pretty cool. Instead, it's the name of a company at the center of a South African government energy deal that will see a foreign-based company raking in the big bucks for an exorbitant service that will lock us into its terms for 20 years. Smells a bit too much like the arms deal for our liking. So, what is Karpowership? They're a Turkish company that produces power from gas-fired power stations on ships. That's right, floating power stations. The company came onto the South African scene in March when, given our energy crisis, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy ran a program to invite independent power producers, so those are guys outside of Eskom, to fast-track around 2,000 megawatts of new electricity. Now, if you were thinking that this should have gone to guys along the lines of solar panels and wind farms, you would have been right. Instead, Greta Mantashe's department bizarrely chose a gas-guzzling, eye-wateringly expensive ship as its preferred bidder. So, what exactly is the problem? Well, there's quite a few. Firstly, the contract, if approved, will cost us 10.9 billion rand a year, gulp. And remember, that's like per year for 20 years. Now, in June, Barbara Creasy's National Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment refused to grant an environmental permit to Karpowership. It noted, among other concerns, failure to conduct public participation processes, plus inadequate studies done by the company on the potentially harmful effects of underwater noise from the power ships. Now, Karpowership is appealing that decision. But the company also faces a number of other challenges. It's facing court battles from a rival bidder that claims the process that saw them appointed was fraudulent. Plus, there's an inquiry by Parliament's relevant committee on the matter. Now, Mantashe's department has been very accommodating of Karpowership. They've even extended deadlines around this bid that seemed solely aimed at accommodating the company's battle with the Environment Department. So why are we telling you about this? Why is it in the news now? Well, despite all these ongoing issues and environmental concerns, the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, otherwise known as NERSA, controversially made an announcement on Tuesday this week. They have issued licenses for Karpowership. This is an important regulatory hurdle that the company needed to clear, and it's really bizarre for a lot of people that NERSA issued these licenses despite all the questions around the deal. So what's next? Now it falls to civil society, as usual, to fight back. Environmental group The Green Connection says it's considering taking legal action, and OUTA, the organization undoing tax abuse, is already on the case, asking NERSA to provide reasons for its decision. When it made its announcement on Tuesday, it said that it would issue reasons shortly, so we don't actually know what the reasons are. But still, it's really, really concerning. As the Daily Maverick's Feral Huffagy pointed out on Twitter, it looks like NERSA ZA is captured. Why on earth approve Karpowership for emergency generation when it will take 5 years to build the ships before deploying them? So as you can see, it won't really be ready for emergency generation. So given the existing concerns, including by government departments, civil society may prevail, scuppering the deal. But why, oh why, do issues of national importance keep getting tangled up in legal battles?
The briefs.
Michaela Cole's inspiring call to disappear. The 73rd Primetime Emmy Awards aired on Monday morning, our time. Now, some of the nominees we were rooting for did not get an award, such as our very own Trevor Noah for The Daily Show, or South African-born actress Thuso Mbedu, who had Oprah Winfrey gushing about her performance in the widely acclaimed US series The Underground Railroad. But we were thrilled at Michaela Cole's win for Outstanding Writer for a limited or anthology series or movie for her HBO drama I May Destroy You. This after she was snubbed at the Golden Globes. Now, Cole wrote, directed, and starred in the searingly honest and deeply thought-out take on her own experience of sexual assault. She is the first black woman to collect the award, and she did so in a beautiful fluorescent yellow two-piece by Christopher John Rogers, and dedicated the series to every single survivor of sexual assault. But we absolutely love this quote directed at other writers from her speech, and you might find it helpful too. She said, "In a world that entices us to browse through the lives of others to help us better determine how we feel about ourselves, and to in turn feel the need to be constantly visible, for visibility these days seems to somehow equate to success. Do not be afraid to disappear from it, from us, for a while, and see what comes to you in the silence." Voter registration. Some good news, pity about the glitches. With a little less than 6 weeks to go until the local government elections, the Independent Electoral Commission held what it describes as a successful final voter registration weekend this last Saturday and Sunday. Now, there are a few big numbers that are definitely worth celebrating. For starters, nearly 400,000 new people were added to the voters' roll. It's also great to hear that many 18 and 19-year-olds took advantage of reaching the legal voting age. I mean, this cohort are notorious for not voting. But the IEC says that registrations in this age group more than tripled during registration weekend, from just over 44,000 to almost 170,000. Plus, we're delighted to see that women are leading the way in this arena, as in so many other South African spheres. Overall, they represent over 55% of registered voters. Unfortunately, the weekend was marred by technical glitches. The IEC CEO, Simon Mabolo, called these unfortunate and suggested that they could not have been predicted. But anyone who's ever used technology would beg to differ, Mr. Mamabolo. The glitches weren't just frustrating, they mean that many people were unable to register and won't have another opportunity to do so before the 1st of November. The IEC's initial target was to register 800,000 new voters, but it reached only half that number. The current voters' roll has about 26 million registered voters. 40 million of us are eligible to vote, so that means 13 million South Africans who could be voting won't be able to. That's a big number. I mean, that could sway the whole election. But listen, if you missed out on registering, take heart. There are plenty of ways to be an active, election-engaged citizen. You can read parties' manifestos online, ask your elected representatives tough questions online or on their doorsteps. You could also help get people to the polls on the 1st of November if you've got time and a vehicle, and guide others through applying for a special vote if they qualify for it by the 4th of October. Zuma takes aim at NPA's downer. In a world full of uncertainty, it's rather comforting to know that some things are inevitable, even if those things are death, taxes, and former President Jacob Zuma's finding a way to dodge the day in court he insists he really wants. His latest target is dual prosecutor Billy Downer, who is set to lead the state's case against Zuma on charges of corruption, money laundering, and racketeering, all related to that notorious decades-old arms deal case, of which Zuma has long maintained his innocence. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, this case has resumed, and Zuma's lawyers are now arguing before the Pietermaritzburg High Court that Billy Downer has no title to prosecute Zuma, and that he has made prosecuting the case a personal legacy project. This, they say, means he is not impartial. Now, just a refresher on this, Billy Downer has been on this case for ages, and this is just another delaying tactic by Zuma to try to evade actually starting the trial, which hasn't even heard from his first witness yet. Meanwhile, Zuma's medical records and his health more generally have become central to the ongoing case. Zuma was granted medical parole earlier this month after serving just 2 months of a 15-month sentence for contempt of the Constitutional Court. Advocate Wim Trengro for the NPA told the court this week that state doctors had found Zuma was fit to stand trial based on documents given to them. The former president, incidentally, wasn't present to hear arguments. The court heard that his doctors had advised him not to travel because he's currently receiving medical treatment in Gauteng. All in all, we're pretty glad we're not Judge Piet Koen. He's the man overseeing this convoluted case, and he's promised that he'll try to deliver a written judgment on October 26th. If this isn't possible, he'll let both legal teams know ahead of the deadline. Musicians straying into anti-vaxxer territory. We're appalled that some celebrities are using their platforms to cast doubt on COVID vaccines. First, there was global superstar rapper Nicki Minaj's rather awkward tweet last month claiming her cousin's friend in her native Trinidad had swollen testicles after getting vaccinated. The poor guy apparently then got dumped by his fiancée, which is what Minaj claimed. But Trinidad's clearly annoyed health minister said the whole thing was a lie and lamented how much time was wasted investigating it. As MSNBC host Joy Reid put it, you have 22 million followers on Twitter. For you to use your platform to encourage our community to not protect themselves and save their lives? My God, sister, you could do better than that. We have to agree with that. Now, critics have also called out Minaj for creating this whole debacle to distract from the real issue, her husband's failure to register as a sex offender in California. The duo also has a looming court case for harassing his victim since they got married. Pretty sordid stuff. But some South African celebrities aren't covering themselves in glory either. Local musician Amanda Black may be living up to her lyrics about drifting away into the darkness with her ongoing Twitter campaign against vaccines. Medical practitioners on the platform, like the popular Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, are calling Black out by trying to report her Twitter account to help curb the misinformation that she's spreading. We hope they succeed. Have a good life now, Merkel. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is set to hand over the baton after 16 years in power. She will not stand for re-election in the country's upcoming elections on Sunday. Now, under Merkel's calm and very rational leadership, Germany really shone on the world stage. As The Economist put it, if the rest of Europe is nervous over Merkel's departure, it is because she has made herself the indispensable European, brilliantly briefed, invested in personal relationships, and possessing almost superhuman negotiating stamina. Merkel was the country's first woman chancellor, and she's outlasted international peers like George W. Bush, Tony Blair, Jacques Chirac, Silvio Berlusconi, and even weathering the Donald Trump era. One expert pointed out that Merkel's focus was more on policies than on politics. As a trained physicist with a PhD in quantum chemistry, she followed the facts only, which we lauded in her handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. But she tended towards sometimes damaging austerity and often failed to act decisively, particularly on climate change. As The Guardian points out, this will be the most unpredictable election in recent history, and for a whole generation will mark the first time they will not be led by a woman. Seeing red over the UK's irrational decision. The United Kingdom has irrationally decided to keep South Africa on its red list, despite countries like the US, Germany, and Mauritius moving to open their borders to vaccinated South Africans. This also allows their citizens to visit us, which is crucial for our struggling tourism sector and economy. Their reason? The UK says that the beta variant, which was first identified by scientists in South Africa in late 2020, is still dominant here and has the potential to circumvent vaccines, to which we say lol. As Professor Francois Venter, an expert in communicable diseases at Wits University, told the Financial Mail, this view is, quote, insane. He also went on to say that there is no scientific reason to be on the red list. And here's why. The variant does not circumvent the vaccine, according to scientists. But most importantly, the beta variant has been completely pushed out of the picture in recent months by the Delta variant, which is now the most prevalent strain in almost all countries, including SA and the UK. The hypocrisy, you guys. According to Business Day, South Africa's red list status means that South African travellers going to the UK must spend 10 days in quarantine at a personal cost of more than £2,000. That's over 40,000 rand. Countries like Nigeria are better off than us, despite less than 1% of their population being fully vaccinated, versus our 13%. Now, the Department of Tourism is on the case. South African scientists will soon provide further evidence to the UK. But for now, the status quo and this decision stinks.
Accountability Monitor.
Billions of rands recovered from crime proceeds. The government's effort to recover money lost to criminals is paying off. Over 3 billion rand was recovered in the last financial year. It's all thanks to something called the Fusion Centre, the A-team that's fighting and preventing financial crime, along with the Financial Intelligence Centre. The amount recovered was significantly higher compared to the previous year's 2.97 billion rand. Plus, there's a separate category of frozen assets which amounted to over 600 million rand, which is way up from the previous amount of 70 million rand. Now, the Fusion Centre has to date helped recover hundreds of millions of rands in unpaid taxes and opened over 200 cases, Business Insider reported. Unfortunately, it has no power to make arrests or order investigations. Still, we like the spirit and the return of ill-gotten gains. Rest in power, Joladi Matongo. The city of Joburg has seen its second mayor in a few months pass on. Joladi Matongo died in a car crash on Saturday, just a few months into the job. His predecessor, Jeff Makubo, died from COVID-19 in July. Now, Matongo was one of the first ANC mayoral candidates to go through a proper interview process, and he was an inspiring choice, with even the DA singing his praises. His father was from Zimbabwe, which led to some disgusting xenophobic comments around his appointment, but he was always a child of South Africa. He will be laid to rest on Friday. Local government elections are just weeks away, so the pressure is on for the ANC to find a strong candidate to replace him, especially with former Joburg Mayor Herman Mashaba in the running on his own platform.
That's it from us at The Wrap, an award-winning product of Explain.co.za, simple news summaries for busy people. The Wrap is sponsored by Explain's agency division. We specialize in content marketing for purpose-driven organizations, often with a pan-African reach. Mail info@explain.co.za for a quote. Remember to share the love, tell your friends to sign up for updates at explain.co.za/subscribe. Till next time, goodbye from the team.